So you grew up in Russia and then left there.
Escape.
You escaped.
Because I'm gay.
Okay. So is there anything I didn't talk about tonight that you would love me to talk about?
Russia.
What's that?
Russia.
Russia. Okay. Ooh. May I ask? Oh, do you have any connection?
I was born there.
You were born there. Okay. Okay, great. Are you here for a while? Are you here for a day? Gathering information? So you grew up in Russia and then left there.
Escape.
You escaped. Legit escaped. Okay, hey, yeah, good, exactly, good for you. Hey, punchline, I need another hour for my show. We got a lot to unpack here. Great timing, by the way. You left for great timing. Impeccable timing, really. Yes. Because 5 years ago, that was 2018. So you left, did you leave before or after the World Cup? About during the time? He's in the finals. I was like, this is my time to sneak out. They're all at the games. I've been to Russia. In fact, I performed in Russia in 2016. Moscow had its first ever comedy festival. First ever. They were just starting to laugh over there in 2016. And who did they want to come headline their first ever comedy festival? That's right. The first person they could find on Facebook at 3 a.m. And so I have friends there, and I have friends there who, not as fortunate as you, wanted to escape recently and were not able to. So when I think of Russia, I don't think of the government, I think of the people. And I think that's something that a lot of people here in America forget, is that we talk a lot of mad shit about Russia, but the people of Russia are suffering for the same reasons. And yeah, so a lot of our... Thank you. I'm running for president. It's not the people of Russia as much as it is some of the people in power and a lot of the people in Russia. It's not as much the people in Russia as is the people of Russia, because there's a lot of people. There's people inside of people like Russian nesting dolls. You just get the people and the people. The reason you say escape is because they didn't want you to leave.
No, because I'm gay.
Okay. Fuck yeah. I don't know if you know this, sir, but you came to the right place, all right? You escaped Russia being gay, but you come to SF and up in the right guy's room, you can't escape for different reasons, all right?
I'm a millennial. Hold your applause. We're very unique, millennials. I mean, you know how often you meet a generation as unique as millennials? Once every 1,000 years, actually. That's the definition of millennium. We come every 1,000 years. There's millennials in the year 1000 scrolling on their cave walls. Yeah. There was millennials in the year 0. Jesus was a millennial. Born right at the cutoff. Isn't that crazy? It was a few days later, he would have been Gen Z. That's insane how that worked out. Of course Jesus was a millennial. He wore sandals to his job. He lived in his mom's manger till 30-something. He had a career in carpentry. He was like, I'm gonna do public speaking instead. Is that cool? Check out my live blog. I got 12 followers. What? I'm running for president in 2036. Yeah, baby. Obeid 2036. Make America great again.
We will make America great again.
The news came out last week. Cash can carry the virus. But the virus is mostly transmitted through inhalation, so this only affects people who do cocaine. So most of us will be fine. If you're going to be snorting cocaine, please do it the safe way. It needs one of those metal rings.
I was talking to my friend last week. My friend was like, man, I'm hungry than a motherfucker. I was like, what? He was like, I'm hungry than a motherfucker. I was like, who's this motherfucker? Why is he so hungry? And how hungry are you that you're hungry than a motherfucker? I think you mean hungrier. He's like, nah, man, it's a saying. Hungry than a motherfucker. H-U-N-G-R-Y, then T-H-E-N. I'm like, dude, stop right there. That's your problem. You're mixing up your thens and nans. See, some of you were laughing, so I'm like, I don't even know what the is going on right. What my friend is basically saying is hungry, then a motherfucker all of a sudden. Where did this motherfucker come from? What is his agenda? You have to finish that sentence for it to make sense, right? Hungry, then a motherfucker came through with some fries. Some of you are laughing, some this grammar joke's making me tired than a motherfucker right now. That could make sense. You have a guy sitting eating ribs, and his friend comes in hey man, we gotta go that MILF. He's like, hey man, I'm hungry, then a motherfucker. Nom 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 nom.
I
I am running for president in 2036. So, if you don't have a candidate for 2036, I'll be there. I'm actually the only person running right now, so I'm already winning technically. Let me tell you, 2036, I'm going to create a line at the grocery store specifically for our elderly. That's right, because I care. I think our elders deserve respect, and they deserve their own line at the grocery store, which is fully equipped to handle check after check after check after check after check, and coupons, all the coupons under the sun, even if they don't belong to this particular store. All those coupons will be readily checked by this person who will take the time with each of these customers. And meanwhile, you'll fly by in your special lane. Just like we have a 12 items or less line, we'll have a 12 years or less left line, okay? Operate efficiently at the grocery store.
Hey, this is Sammy Obeid, full-time comedian, one-time hand model, and most importantly, former math teacher.
6 + 0 = 2 people. Good, solid, that's good. Out of 100 something, that's fine. It's not.
Lately, countless young people have asked me, Sammy, should I go to college? And even my parents are like, Sammy, why do we pay for your college if you're just gonna dedicate yourself to making high-quality internet content? What did you guys do? What happened? Well, as we know, college is an investment. And with any investment, you should always ask, what is my return on investment?
But what's the ROI? What's the ROI? What's the ROI?
Okay, I learned that in college. It's a measure of profitability used mostly by people who watch Shark Tank. ROI for short, or ROI if you're completely lazy, is equal to net profit over total investment. Net means we subtracted all the costs. And if you prefer to keep the costs, fine, but that's gross. Now, ROI is often written as a percentage, but this isn't a children's show. Today I'm gonna show you for each dollar you spend on college, how many dollars do you get back? Don't worry, I'll do all the work. So let's just say you do community college, because let's face it, they have better parking and no annoying frat guys named Thad. The average cost of an associate's degree is $24K. And what do you get in return? Well, your expected lifetime income with an AA is $1.725 million. Nice. But $1.3 million of that comes from just graduating high school, and you have to subtract the cost of getting the AA, so the net value of an AA is only $401K. This is why I love math. If you don't know what a 401K is, it's like a very long marathon. By the time you get your cash prize, you can't even walk. So the ROI of community college is about $17. So for every dollar you spend on an associate's degree, you get about $17 back, which is better than most drug deals. Probably why so many drug dealers go to community college. Now, if you live with your parents during all of this, your cost drops from $24K to $8K, and your ROI jumps to 50, damn! And you were ashamed to bring a date back to your parents' place? Show them that big old ROI. Let's put this into perspective. An ROI of 50 is what you get working in real estate for 40 years. So plan B is just inherit your parents' house and flip it. Now, if you go to a 4-year college because you want bigger words in your lexicon, like lexicon, that adds $1 million to your life, assuming you work 40 years, which most millennials won't. And I can say that because I'm a millennial and I've been taking a gap year for the past 5 years. And I know some millennials are watching like, hey, I'm at work right now. Yeah, but you're watching this vid. Now, if you do in-state public college like I did, that costs $83K, which my parents will never get back. So your ROI is $11, which is minimum wage in New York. But let's not compare apples to big apples. Here is a better comparison. You get an ROI of 15 for running your own business for 40 years with or without a college degree. So you may not need a 4-year education if you have a badass Corona recipe and aren't afraid of badass Yelp reviews. Oh no, my alma mater just gave this video a thumbs down. Now, if you do a 4-year out of state because your parents want you to leave, that costs $146K. So your ROI is $5.86. Sad, but it's fine because your parents have money. And you'll probably get all of it when they die in that mysterious boating accident. Now, private college costs $187K because it murders retirement funds. So your ROI is $432. By the way, shout out to USC Film School for helping produce this video for free. Now let's say you're done with undergrad and thinking about getting a master's because essentially you want to be your coworker's master. Master's adds about $400K to your lifetime and can cost anywhere from $30K to $120K. So let's say average $70K, but let's assume you eat, which makes the average master's cost $100K. So your ROI is 3. There you go, boss. Now a PhD, or as Middle Eastern parents call it, bare minimum, you can earn an extra $1 million. But it takes about 8 years, so your average total cost is $360K.
because you know what they say about PhD. It stands for pretty huge debt. Your ROI is barely $2. You could get the same return if you instead put that $360K into a standard 2% bond and just sit and wait for 40 years. At least that way you don't miss your kid's birthday 8 times. Let's put this all together. It looks like the more college you do, the less profitable it becomes. Sort of like making Saw movies. Strangely, it looks like your best investment is community college, living at home. Sorry parents, now all of you hate me, but get that basement ready and stock it with ramen, Adderall, and a door that locks. Now hold on, there is good news. Just by finishing high school, you get 1.3 million added to your life. That diploma, certificate to the Millionaires Club. You thought you had to be a rapper?
And that's all profit, baby, because the cost goes to your parents. Way to beat the system, Lil Ploma. Roy's so big, it broke my calculator. Ah!
So whatever you do, finish high school, do some college if you can, but just like with anything in life, if it feels like too much, it probably is. And you can trust me, because I went to college. And obviously, there's so many other ways to value the college experience. This was just looking at money, and as we all know, money is not that important.
Wait, am I gonna get college credit for this?
No, because college credit equals debt. Were you not listening?
Not bad for America. 6 plus 0 equals 6. If you weren't 100% sure on that one. 7 plus 0 equals? Much better. You're learning. See, you're learning. People get smarter.
Do you guys know that if you go up to a Ku Klux Klan member and you rip off his face mask, he just becomes a chef? Hot power, white wine sauce.
Good, good. You guys are good clappers. Not really laughers, but I like it. I'll take the claps. Are you okay? You're over there. I keep looking up. You look very sad. You doing all right? Okay, it's very awkward. Oh, it's an awkward angle? Is that what it is? Oh, I keep looking at you and that makes it awkward? Yikes. So you want me to not notice your depression? Like, it's glaring at me. You're right there. I mean, you have to understand, you know? I don't expect you to be happy when I'm here. I mean, it's nice. It's nice to know that I show up, you know, across half the world and you're like, yeah, this is cool. You know, but even if you come to the show like this, you know, maybe I can help. But after 5 minutes of jokes and I look over, you're still like this, I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore. Maybe acknowledge it. And then if I acknowledge it, like, why are you acknowledging it? Well, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do at this point. But if you've been following my stand-up for years, you know, I don't have one common thing. I like to do difficult subjects, such as isosceles triangles, or Palestine, of course. It's a difficult subject. And the reason I'm able to do these difficult subjects is because I'm very aware that I come from a place of privilege. Okay, I live in what's called the first world. I didn't know we were numbering them. But you know, I had a great childhood. Both my parents loved me. I was the favorite. You know, I grew up in apartheid, but on the good side. You know what I mean? So I know what it's like. And so I'm aware. I approach difficult subjects coming from a place of privilege. I'm aware that I'm privileged because I thought about it this year. I thought about it very carefully. I thought about what was the biggest adversity that I faced personally this year, and it's very embarrassing. It was a night that I ordered DoorDash. I know this sounds horrible already. I'm aware. You guys know what DoorDash is. It's a food delivery service. I like DoorDash because the people who bring you the food, they call them dashers. And so it's like they're dashing it towards you, like, just feels like they're in a rush to deliver you the food like the king that you are. And so this night, I was very hungry, so I ordered a burrito. I'm not sure if they have those in Australia yet, but it's basically food wrapped inside of food. I ordered that for my tummy. And just a few minutes after ordering it, I thought, you know, I kind of want something sweet. So I'm gonna order some ice cream. That's why I'm living like the favorite child every day, you know? Back in the day, I'd be like, Mom, can I have ice cream? She'd be like, yes, you're the favorite. And now I treat DoorDash the same way. I'm like, DoorDash, can I get ice cream? Like, yes, just send us more money. And so I ordered another order. I ordered ice cream. I don't know if you've ever had the luxury of ordering 2 separate orders on one of these food apps, but 2 different individuals will bring you food from 2 different locations at, statistically, 2 different times. But on this very night, my 2 dashers arrived at the exact same time. And it was so embarrassing. Oh my God, it was so awkward. I was like, oh my God, they see each other. It's so bad.
They clocked each other in like, you're here for this guy? He wants that and this? Oh my God. What a pig. He's probably gonna eat with his hands too. And they just set it on my doormat in disgust, like, let's get out of here. And then I waited for them to leave, watching them through the curtain. And then I slithered out, got my 2 bags and went inside. And I just ate them really quickly, like I hunched over. That's how I eat. And then that was the hardest night I had all year. That's the level of privilege I'm coming from. Just letting you know. And, okay, well, there was a night where my house got broken into. Forgot about that one. And I know my house got broken into because I was inside, which I would argue is the worst time to be in your house. Some people are like, dude, that's the best time because you can defend your home. Like, that's assuming that I'm a hero, which I am not. So I was sitting on my couch one night, which is kind of near the front door, and I hear a knock. Now, when someone knocks on the front door, it can only mean one of 2 things. Either they're trying to sell you something or kill you, okay? And I was not interested in either of those things that night, okay? So when somebody knocks on my door, my strategy is to just freeze so that the person can't even hear my motion. Because we've all knocked on someone's door, rang the doorbell. You can tell when someone's in there. You can just hear their aura. You're like, I know this motherfucker's home. So my thing is just like, remove all traceable forms of life. Power down, and just wait for the knocking to stop. And they knock again. And I'm like, this will pass. They knock again. All right, 3 knocks it is. Knock again. Getting greedy there, buddy. And there's a pause. I'm like, they're leaving. And then they twist the doorknob. Oh no. They're testing to see the door is open because nobody else lives here. So I'm just like, hold on. Don't make any noise. They twist the door arm again, very aggressively. I'm like, oh, they really want to get inside. Then it occurred to me, like, at what point am I going to defend my home? Because I really don't think I'm going to. I really thought about it. I was like, if this person breaks into my house, I'm just going to pretend like I'm a statue. So if they come in, they're like, well, that's a realistic looking statue. Where'd you get it, you know? Or they would know that it was me, and they would see that I was scared, so they would at least play along with the game. Like, whoa, that's a cool statue. I'm gonna go rob the place. It's like improv, you know? So I'm like, what am I gonna do? Twist the doorknob. Then this person starts throwing their body weight into the door. Don't shake, motion. They do it again. And I'm actually really impressed because I can stand pretty still and I'm like trying not to shake or make any motion. I'm trying to stabilize. They do it again. And then my phone goes ding. I was like, I looked at my phone and I kid you not, it actually was good timing because it just so happens 20 minutes prior, I ordered DoorDash. And my phone is notifying me that my Dasher was arriving and I was like, thank God, a hero. I looked at my phone. His name was Muhammad, too. I was overjoyed. It said, Muhammad has arrived. I was like, peace be upon him. I gave it 5 stars right away. I was like, you know what to do, buddy. And then I see the GPS, the dot approaching the house. I'm like, Muhammad's going to save me. He's going to save me. He always does. And then I'm hearing this guy throwing his body weight against the door. I'm like, Muhammad, do the right thing, do it. And then I see the dot approaching the door, throwing the body weight against the door, and then I see him walking away. I'm like, no, Muhammad, no! Where are you going? He's like, this is not my business. He's like, this is just weird. And then I see him walking off further, and I start to cry. I'm like, no. And then the guy throws the body weight against the door. Now I'm like freaking out again. And then I see the dot start to move back towards the door. I'm like, okay, he's changed his mind. He's like, I cannot stand for this injustice. And my mind's like making it political. I'm like, thank God for immigrants. You know what I mean? Like, you know, good conscience, you know, doing the jobs that us citizens don't want to do, like defend our own homes, right? And so I'm like, you go, Muhammad. Can I give him 5 stars again? I don't know. And then I see him approach the door. Guy's still throwing the body weight. I'm like, Muhammad, are you just watching? And then he throws the body weight even harder this time. I'm like, Muhammad, are you helping? Are you like throwing this guy against the door and he just bounces back like I'm gonna help this guy out? I'm like, what is going on? And then it dawned on me there's a delay on this app. So this has just been Muhammad the whole time. I look, I'm like, that's his car right there. And that's him. Oh my God. Why is my dasher trying to break into my house? Like, he was like, oh, I'm gonna leave this food. This house looks really nice. Might as well give a little, take a little. My politics instantly changed. I'm like, immigrants! They were right, you know? I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And I'm like, like now the adrenaline's kicking in. I'm like, you gotta do something, save your home. Then I look a little closely and I'm like, he looks kind of like a small guy. I could probably take him, you know? So I open the door. I'm like, Muhammad, what's the deal, man? And he looks at me, he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. It says to leave inside. Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Oh my God, I put leave inside on the directions. That was a typo. I meant to put leave outside like a normal person. But I think maybe I made a typo and then autocorrect changed it to inside. You know, autocorrect, these are the kinds of struggles that I have. Autocorrect, really. And I kind of like took a moment to like laugh at it. And I was like, and I'm like, man, I really appreciate you trying to get inside, you know? Because he's like, you just said leave inside, he has to follow the directions. I'm like, that's awesome, man. Like, but like, how far were you gonna go? You know, like, you nearly broke down the door. He's like, yeah, my right side hurts. I'm like, I mean, definitely gonna tip you for this one. But like, I understand why he did that because, you know, these people who deliver food on the apps, I don't know if anybody here does it, but like, you have to follow the directions. Because people get upset when you don't follow the directions to a T. Like, you know, there's been some Karen out there who's like, he didn't leave it on the right corner of the doormat, counterclockwise like I asked. 1 star. So now these dashers are traumatized, you know, somebody's not gonna get upset because they didn't follow the directions. So Muhammad was like, he said, leave inside. I'm just gonna get inside of his house by any means necessary. So you gotta respect that hustle. So, you know, I gave him 5 stars again, gave him a tip, and sent him on his way. And then I ate my burrito. Again, I was like, and the burrito was so good, I completely forgot to change the directions on my app. So I totally just left it saying leave inside for another 2 weeks. And I didn't realize this until 2 weeks later when I was back home again. And this night I was also very hungry. And so I ordered 2 dashers again. Okay, sorry. And the 2 dashers came at the same time again. I don't know if it's me. I'm just attracting like these 2-for-1 scenarios. But they came at the exact same time, and I didn't realize it, and I didn't realize that I hadn't changed the app until I'm sitting on my couch, and then I hear someone banging on the door and the window at the same time. These guys were trying to break into my house from 2 different entry ports. And I kind of just like looked out the window, just been like, oh, they're doing a good job. Like, they even started working together. Like, how are we gonna get in this guy's house? What are we gonna do? Should we go around the back gate? You know, should I lift you on the roof? We can Santa Claus that shit down the chimney? Like, they were working together. It was actually really cool, you know? But I had to go out there and break it. I'm like, sorry, guys, Muhammad. It was a complete mistake. Thank you for the food. Peace be upon y'all, and have a nice day. And after that, I changed it back to leave outside, and I've had no adversity since. So that's where I'm at. I'm just letting you know, just so you know where I come from personally, okay? And this is all just to say I'm aware that I don't have a real struggle in my life, and that's why it's very easy for me to address obvious, difficult topics and address people who are enduring real suffering because I know what real suffering looks like. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it feels like, but I know what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? So I see people suffering in the world, and I have to say something about it. And a lot of you know I'm Palestinian, okay? And people ask me, like, you know, I see what you're going through. I know you care so much about people in Palestine because you're Palestinian. To be honest, I don't even think about being Palestinian when I see what they're going through. I just think it's just, you see human suffering. Yeah, I mean, that's all it is. I just literally see human suffering. I don't think that if I was any other race or nationality that I would see it any differently. I see people suffering, and I'm gonna be honest, for the last 2 years, I've been cycling between sadness, frustration, and pure rage. And I'm gonna admit, at this point in time, I'm pretty locked into pure rage. I'm just like, in there. I make sure that my rage is never directed towards my fellow people around me who are trying also to be good people. My rage is not directed towards anyone other than my politicians. That's it. And probably yours too. My politicians and yours, who, I don't know your politicians personally, but I imagine they're all scumbags as well. And so, I don't even need to know their names and I hate them. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Yes, but my hate is it's exclusively for politicians. That's it. That's it. And now, as a public figure, I can't be up here advocating for violence against any politician. Y'all can do what you want, but I cannot be doing this. I need to be more creative about what I say. And so my bigger goal right now is I'm really trying to build my reach and my following so that I can get politicians to do my podcast. Because that's how much of a losers these politicians are. They're like, oh, but I can do this podcast, get some votes, you know? And so that's what I'm trying to do. And my goal really is to get big enough to the point where I can invite my whole Congress to my house, okay? I'll have to get a bigger house. But I'm gonna invite them all over, tell them it's for content, you know? We'll order DoorDash, you know, so they have food. And then I'm gonna tell them that we're doing a makeover. So I'm like, it's makeover time! They're gonna be like, yay! And then I'm gonna get a bunch of hairstylists and makeup artists, and we're gonna put all of my politicians in what I call Arab face. Yeah, it's a thing, I just made it up. But we're gonna give them Arab face. We're gonna give them a nice bronze brown, put hair where it doesn't belong, put all the women in hijab like Zoran wants. I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean? Get them like indistinguishably Arab. You know what I mean? Just like you can't even tell the difference between them and people in the Arab world. And we're getting them all Arabed up, and we're gonna get them in an Arab plane. A plane, but it's like they're really Arab looking. And then we're gonna fly them out, airdrop them directly into Gaza, and watch them figure it out. Yep. And we're gonna call it APAC Island. Can you survive without your lunch money? And it'll be just like Love Island. You can vote them off at that point. I already got the poster. It's just a picture of like John Fetterman and AOC like, is it a genocide now? We gotta get creative. It is the time to get creative because that's pretty much all we have left. You know, all of the basics that we're doing are amazing. Speaking up, protesting, contacting your soulless politicians. These are all important things and we gotta keep doing them. But we gotta be doing something else on top. It has to be creative, it has to be something that nobody's ever tried or thought of. And I don't claim to have the solution. I don't claim to have the idea. But hopefully, my idea will inspire. So here's my idea. Here's what I have right now. Because I know that this solution requires a lot of people. You know, we can't just do this with 100 people. We can't just do this with 1,000 or 10,000. We need like 1 billion people. If we can get 1 billion people to do something, I know we can end the genocide in Gaza tonight. I know this. 1 billion people. And I know you're like, how are we going to coordinate with 1 billion people? I can't even get my family of 4 to go to the same restaurant. I know. And so here's my idea. If we can just get 1 billion people in the world to all at the same time agree to get on their phone and order DoorDash directly to Gaza and just put leave inside. These dashers will tear down the walls, crawl through the tunnels, parachute that food in, get their 5 stars, get the f*** out. You'll just see Muhammad's on the way, Muhammad's on the way, Muhammad's on the way, Muhammad's on the way. And let's face it, it'll be good for the economy. Thank you so much, Melvin. You guys are amazing. I love you.
Conservative activist Charlie Kirk gunned down.
They just found the perpetrator. They'll get to the bottom of this.
If you read this, you are gay.
LMAO.
Just flew back to America, and boy, my right to bear arms is tired. America is a very unique place. You don't realize it until you leave. I was just in Asia for 3 weeks, and in a lot of places in Asia, they don't tip at all. It's actually kind of cool. It's another thing you don't have to think about. But like here you tip, it's a thing. And I feel like we don't tip always because we want to give somebody more. It's just because we will feel like they'll hate us if we don't.
You know what I mean? And we tip because we know somebody's not paying them enough, so we're kind of picking up the slack. You know? And I'll be honest, in some neighborhoods, I tip so that I don't get shot. I call those hollow tips. Well, that's a unique thing about America. America is a gun culture. You don't find this in most places in the world. In fact, a lot of places in the world, they just don't have guns. They just don't have. You talk about guns and shooting, they're like, oh, you're American. That's like what comes up. I call it the American tax. You know what I mean? Like, we have freedom of speech. We make all the cool music, you know, but you can get shot at any time, you know? So it's kind of like, okay, so. And it's balanced, about the yin and the yang, which is their thing, not ours. But we took it. We like taking stuff too. And so I just want to make this very clear, okay? I don't celebrate when someone dies. I don't think that's the way forward. I don't think that's the human thing to do. I do not celebrate the death of another human being. Yes. I simply make jokes, and there's a difference, okay? Jokes are not a celebration of death. They are a celebration of life while we have it. Okay? And if for a moment you think that I'm selective about this, please check my track record. Okay? Sometimes people accuse me like, oh, you only make jokes when somebody on the right dies. It's like, no. Biden, each time he died, I made a joke. Every single time, I made a joke. Never skipped a beat. And you might not remember that, and neither does he. Okay? Okay? When the Pope died, I was at Mass making jokes. I was just like, please forgive me for these, okay? When my own grandfather died, I was like, where's the will? I'm not a good person. Am I going to heaven? Probably not. But I am enjoying my life, and I know in my heart of hearts, I do not celebrate death. I just, I do think that it's important to talk about and digest and look at why things happen so we can understand and make this world a better place. And I think that comedy is a good vehicle for that. And I honestly don't think I should even have to explain this as a comedian. Yeah. And yet I do all the time. I do all the time. Okay, so... all that said, so Charlie Kirk got assassinated, and I'm not going to make any cheap shots. I already I see him as a human being. I didn't agree with a lot of things he said, and I honestly was only peripherally aware of him like in the last couple years, and he became a very popular person, and I was actually scheduled to debate Charlie Kirk. A lot of people don't know this. Yeah. Well, he didn't know it either. But I got accepted into a community college, and that's where he would go. Okay. And again, no disrespect. I actually really value that this guy went to college campuses and talked to kids. I found out about this when I was in Korea. Like, here's the thing about Asia or Australia, if you've ever been, they're like 7, 8, 9 hours behind America, but in tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's just a very weird place to be. Like here in America, you're actually 8 hours ahead of Asia, but yesterday. So you're actually not ahead. You're actually in the Stone Ages. But I woke up at 8 a.m. in North Korea, actually. I was in North Korea. I'm just kidding. Wouldn't that be a plot twist? I was in South Korea. It was 8 a.m. and my opener, Chai, he yelled from the other room. He's like, Charlie Kirk was shot. And I was like, shut up, dude. Too early for jokes, And then he sent me a photo, and I was like, wow, you AI'd a montage of Twitter headlines, And then it hit me. I was like, this actually did happen. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Like, I know this guy. I've seen this guy. And I started looking into the story. And here's the thing. Like, you start to understand why the rest of the world sees us as the land of shootings. Because they wake up and there's already 1 billion memes made about what happened. You know, when you hear about someone dying, most people do not naturally have the instinct to make a joke. Even myself, as a joke maker, my first instinct's not to make a joke. That comes like hours later. But I woke up and I saw this after, you know, America had already processed it for like 8 hours. So I was already seeing all the jokes like, wow, these people move fast. So you can understand, I was dropped into this. And it was a lot to process. You know, I watched the video. There's a video of him getting shot, and nobody should ever have to see something like this. No, we as people should not be seeing this level of violence on screen. I can't even believe that I watched it 20 times. It was too much. It was too much for any person, and the fact that we subject ourselves to this is crazy. But if you don't know the backstory, Charlie Kirk is a political commentator. He associates a lot with Republicans and conservative ideology, and he would often go to campuses to speak to students, which again, I find very noble. I think that's actually a very important thing to do to stimulate dialogue at college campuses. However, I will say schools are not the safest place to be in America. I don't know how much you know about American schools, but if you're looking for a place to not get shot, I wouldn't go to the school. You know what I'm saying? Like, you rarely hear, like, there was a shooting today at Trader Joe's. Like, you rarely, like, it's like almost always at a school and like sometimes at a Walmart. You know what I mean? Like that's just how it is, and you got to know the rules, okay? So he was at a school. What he does is he engages in dialogue with the kids. He has them ask questions, and they had been talking for some time, and then the question of shootings came up. And I think they talked about a couple other things. I think they talked about like how many shooters were trans. I guess they were running out of topics. Somebody asked how many shooters are trans, and I think he answered that. And then somebody asked how many shootings have there been in America? Some kind of general question, like how many shootings have there been? And he said counting or not counting gang violence. And then someone shot him. First of all, like just like irony, like his last words were violence. Like that, like the symbolism here is great. Like this is the thing about this whole thing. Irony was working overtime on this one. He was wearing a shirt that said freedom. His last words were violence. They were talking about school shootings while at a school during a shooting. Like this was written on South Park or something. I swear it was insane. Like levels of irony we've never seen before. And so his last words were gang violence, which I don't think anybody ever has uttered those words as their last words before. Usually it's like somebody shouts like a specific gang name, you know, like Norte, bang bang, or Southside Crip, bang bang, but like nobody's ever been like gang violence, you know, and that's... And something to unpack more, this has been a point that Charlie Kirk has liked to make a lot, and a lot of other conservative people when discussing shootings is, are we counting gang violence or not? Which I think is a valid question, because some sources that count mass shootings do count gang violence and some don't, and obviously gang violence inflates the numbers a lot. However, there's a subtle implication, like there's still not a ton of regular shootings and that's a problem. Also, it's like, can we care about the gangsters too? You know what I mean? Like, Crips lives matter, you know? Whatever, guys. You guys don't really have gangs in Hawaii. I don't know, but you're like, no, we have that too. Well, you guys have everything in very small doses. So he shouts gang violence, and then someone shoots him. And instantly, like literally as soon as Charlie Kirk got shot, the whole world tried to politicize it. That's America's thing. America loves to politicize everything. We politicize jeans commercials. You know what I mean? Like, was she selling blue jeans or white jeans? You know, like, we politicize Cracker Barrel logos. You know what I mean? Like, anything. You give it to us, we'll be like, is that woke or anti-woke? Is that the far left or the far right? Like, why do we have to politicize everything? And that's the sad part, is that I feel like so many Americans, maybe not in Hawaii, fall into this trap that as soon as Charlie Kirk was shot, so many people on the right were just like, well, clearly it was a leftist, right? Clearly it was a liberal. It's like, well, first of all, you should know they don't have great aim, okay? Like, you should know this by now. Liberals are very not often at the shooting range working on their marksmanship, or their marks they ship, sorry.
Thank you. That joke did not work in Asia for some reason. I don't know. I was waiting for it to work so much. So thank you guys. So nice to be home. Please don't shoot. I'm also really just thankful that comedy's indoors, to be honest. Don't get scared. We're good. We're fine. Everybody relax. But yeah, everybody politicized it, and then just as well, you had people on the left like, yeah, got him. That's what he deserved for saying all those things he said. And it's like, I don't know. I just feel like that's equally falling into the same trap. Like, why do we have to politicize everything? Because the politicizing, when it comes to left and right, is ultimately a gang mentality. Because what is the biggest gangs in America other than Republican versus Democrat? Right? So what I'm saying is the shooting technically did count as gang violence. It's if you made it that way. I did not. That was not my choice. Now a lot of people are saying like, oh, we're gonna go into a civil war. Is America gonna go into a civil war? Like, okay, first of all, we're not civil enough for that. Okay, like we can't even nail the civil part. Okay, maybe we'll get to war eventually. But no, I don't think this is a civil war. And I mean, like, Charlie Kirk was beloved, but he was also hated by so many people that I don't think it's enough unanimity to, like, actually, like, we're not the United States. We're states. You know what I mean? Like, be honest about what we are. I don't think we can even agree on who we want to fight over, you know? Also, if we had a civil war in today's world, the main fighting class would have to be Gen Z. I just don't see that happening. To be like, bang, bang, you're dead ass, no cap. You know, like. Thanks, guys. I will say, though, it is kind of nice to see Republicans finally caring about a school shooting. I will say that. And, people ask me, like, well, how did you feel about Charlie Kirk? You heard all the things he said. It's like, Charlie Kirk was younger than me. He was to me, he could have been my younger brother, you know? He was a lot younger than me and a lot more successful, so of course I hated him. But it doesn't mean, like, you should already know that I'm against violence. I don't know if you watched my other material, but, like, people have outrage when I, like, make jokes about a shooting. Like, have you not seen my genocide material? I saw this news in Korea, and it was already 9/11. Okay? Yeah. For you guys, this happened on 9/10. Okay? But for me, it was 9/11. Okay? And I know that you don't relate because for you it was 9/10, but, on 9/10, it's 9/11 somewhere, So the f***ed up thing is, too, I knew this was an important event that had to be talked about, so I instantly put together a set, and I did it that night on 9/11 in Tokyo. And we recorded it, and I posted it on this app. And it was taken down within 24 hours. It was taken down within 16 hours for bullying, which is a bit ironic considering this particular story. But the thing is, I know the community guidelines. I read them before bed every night. And unlike America, my takes are very civil. You know what I'm saying? My takes are very civil, unlike America. My whole thing was just like, hey, like, let's look at this from a bigger perspective, and let's not preach violence. And meanwhile, I don't know if you've been on the internet, there's some wild takes out there. And I'm talking both from left and right, just saying really violent shit. And it's like, you're taking my video down? Like, preaching togetherness? Like, dude, people are saying really, really insensitive jokes. And imagine, like, how many Halloween costumes there's going to be this year. It's going to be a lot. I'm just saying, I'm not the bad guy. I think it's very important to see every human as a human. Now, I think it's also fair to evaluate what somebody has said in their life. Like, it's fine if you want to honor somebody and only look at the good things they've done on the day of their funeral. That's totally your right, and you should enjoy the person you love that way. But we should also be honest about what somebody said. Otherwise, we're never going to learn anything from this. And the truth is that Charlie Kirk did say a lot of inflammatory things about a lot of different people. If you looked at some of the harshest things he said, it was about Islam. he said some things about black people. I'm not a black person, so I can't really speak on how a black person might feel about what Charlie Kirk said. But I can say, as somebody, you know, from a mostly Muslim family, you know, like him saying like Islam is like the seed of evil, basically saying that Islam is ruining America, it needs to be stopped. And I think occasionally he said, you know, there's a few good Muslims, like, oh, thanks. You know, yeah. It's like, am I one of the good ones? You know, did I make the cut? You know, you see that. I mean, if you look at some of his tweets, some of the things he said about Islam, the first thing you would think is like, oh, a Muslim probably did this. Okay, but we didn't hear Allahu Akbar at the site. Okay, not saying that you would have, but you know what I mean. It's a thing. You might just hear that. You know. Also, long range marksmanship, not really. You know what I mean? Like we're not really our specialty, you know. We're more of a like throw a bomb, see what happens kind of thing, you know. That's why they say Allahu Akbar. They're like, whoa, my God, it made it. You know, it's like it's you have to understand. I truly believe in freedom of speech. I respect that Charlie Kirk believed in freedom of speech and was literally willing to die for it. I think honestly we learned that like freedom of speech only goes so far. You know what I mean? There's not only does the government only allow us so much freedom of speech, but you only have so much freedom to say things before it catches up to you. You know, this is a truth, and this is something that we need to be real with and acknowledge, because we live in a country that has the Second Amendment. And if we are going to continue living in a country that has the Second Amendment, and I'm not arguing that we do take it away or don't take it away. I actually have a joke about this, let's say in a minute. But I'm just saying, as long as we have the Second Amendment, you do have to realize we have the First Amendment. We put it first for a reason, but the Second Amendment's also second for a reason, because sometimes the second catches up to the first. You know what I'm saying? And so you need to be aware of this and sometimes plead the fifth and shut the f*** up. That's just my philosophy. I'm just trying to help. I'm not against guns. I mean, I think the notion of a gun is where we went wrong. As soon as we came up with the concept of having a killing machine that we could use for other people, I think that was our first wrong. But as long as we have guns, I think everybody should have them or nobody should have them. I don't think we should be picking and choosing who gets the guns easily and who doesn't. Well, maybe with some specific restrictions, I guess. But here's how I feel about gun control, because every time there's a massive act of gun violence, our country divides right down the middle, right? Half the country says we need to get rid of all the guns. Let's just start slapping each other. Can we have slap battles? Slap, 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 slap. Gotcha. Slap, 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 slap. And then the other half of the country is like, we need more guns. And our guns should have little guns and they can battle it out, elimination round, and then we take the winner. Like, what the is this? This is such a different theory. And the truth is, we'll never know which one of these theories actually works until we try both, okay? That's how science works. You gotta have a control, gotta have a variable, and unfortunately, we have not tried both of either. But I think we can, because that's the beautiful thing about the United States is we're not united, but we are states. You know what I'm saying? We got a bunch of different states to experiment with, you know? I don't know if you know this, but we got 50 states. Yeah, 51 if you count Israel. We got a lot of states in the United States. It's a lot of room to experiment with, okay? What I'm saying is that I think we should pick a state where we try the no guns thing, and I should pick a state where we try the all guns thing. Now, I'm not the governor of Hawaii. Okay. I would think this would be a great state to try no guns, just because if you want to kill someone in Hawaii, like, you really need therapy. You know what I mean? Like, go to the beach, sip on a coconut, you'll be fine. You know what I mean? Okay. But you can decide that on your own. I'm just saying this would probably be an easier place to try that. But we got to try the place where we do more guns. I volunteer Alaska. Alaska already has the highest rate of gun violence because it's mostly bears. You know, it's just bears shooting at bears. It's bear on bear violence. Alaska has a bunch of problems already anyways. Alaska has the highest rate of non-consensual sex. Disgusting, yeah. You would think it would be the opposite because the state's name, Alaska. But it's not. And so I'm just saying, send more guns to Alaska, arm the bears, okay? Give the bears the right to bear arms, okay? And just see what happens. We're at the point now, we have so many shootings that we have shooters of every different kind of identity. This was the topic that came up right before Charlie Kirk died, was how many trans shooters have there been in America? That's why are we even asking that question? But the fact that trans people are such a small demographic of the United States and that we already have trans shooters, that actually says a lot. It's very progressive, actually. I support trans shooter rights, actually. I know my take on this is very unpopular because I'm not anti-gun and I'm pro-trans. You very rarely have those two things together. Yeah. I mean, some would do so. That means it makes you pro-gun. I mean, I guess for the sake of the argument, I'm pro-gun and pro-trans, and only Arizona agrees with that. So, so much so, I bought a transgender gun. Yeah, it's a sawed-off shotgun. But okay. I ran that joke by my trans friend. Okay, they loved it. Okay, so, but they're also a comedian, so maybe not the best barometer. And then you have a lot of people who had this reaction, which I also don't like, people saying like, oh, well, I didn't like the guy, but now I'm scared. It's like, dude, you should have been scared before all this shit. Like there's been school shootings this whole time. They're all important. They all need to be stopped. And rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. But dude, just because it was an adult this time, like let's that just shows you America doesn't give a fuck about kids, man. And it also bothers me that after this happens, all politicians, both left and right, are suddenly having the same soundbite that there is no place for political violence in this country. It's like, there's no place for any violence. Bro, schools are getting shot up. You're voting to send money to bomb kids overseas. Stop doing that too. Stop doing that too. If you're a politician and you're worried that violence is coming to your doorstep, maybe stop exporting it all over the world with your policies, man. You know what I mean? And if you don't get why what goes around comes around, then maybe get educated, okay? Just like do some more research. Don't go to school. But do the research. Do the research. Okay. Now on to solving this crime, okay? I am a private detective. So there obviously were a lot of very suspicious things about this whole thing. The shot was made at a long range, which there's been a lot of debate about. Like the first kind of talking point was like, to do a long range like that, it has to be a professional job. But then you had hunters coming out of the woodwork be like, nah, I do that shit all the time. I don't know who to believe at this point, to be honest, but it could be either. What's crazy to me is a couple things. First of all, right after they shot Charlie, they immediately zoned in on an old guy who became the fall guy right away, the patsy, as they say, and who apparently was like, yeah, I did it. And then you look over, it's like this old guy like that. Is that the guy? And he's like, it was me. Ha ha ha. And then after 3 hours of like being focused on him, they're like, yeah, it's actually not that guy at all. I don't know why we were talking to that guy, leaving enough time for the shooter to get away. My first thought was the shooter shot at the exact same time that the subject of shootings came up, which was like, was the person who asked the question in on it? Because that felt very coordinated. But then I saw a reel posted by the guy. He's like, yeah, I'm the guy who was asking the questions. It was crazy. Like, I feel bad for the guy. He saw that like right in front of him. So as a detective, he checks out. I don't think he was in on it. I think he was just a regular student who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But like the irony, did the shooter know? Did the shooter wait till that came up just to make this extra ironic? Because if they did, they heard it from 200 yards away, which I guess give credit to the sound system there. It must have been a pretty good sound system. Or could have just been total coincidence, which is even more bonkers. Okay? But everybody immediately clocked in that this had to be done with some kind of experience, some kind of plan. And every race of people was standing behind their laptop being like, please don't let it be ours. please don't let it be ours. I know Charlie Kirk said some really vicious thing about Muslims, but please don't make this a halal shooter, okay? And then we're all worried. We're all behind the screen like, please don't let it be us. And then everybody can relax. It was a white guy. We're like, oh my God. Oh my God, thank you so much. Oh my God. And his name is Tyler. So like, that's a white name. That's a white name, dude. Like, as soon as they're like, it's Tyler, like, I was like, all right, we're good. I didn't need to see him. I was like, it's Tyler, we're good. And I get it. A black person can be Tyler too, but it's not Tyler the Creator. It's Tyler the Destroyer in this case. But as soon as we've confirmed the race, then the next question is, what is his political party? Right? And it suddenly became like a gender reveal anticipation, like, oh, what's gonna come out? What's gonna come out? Is it gonna be red? Is it gonna be a red cloud or a blue cloud? Everybody's like, oh. That's how it is in America, right? We get tense over the political party reveal of the most recent shooter. And like everybody on the right's like, it's gonna be a leftist, it's gonna be a leftist, it's gonna be a blue-haired lesbian. And on the left, they're like, please, just make it a regular gun owner. Please, just make it a normal conservative gun owner, please. And then it turns out it's just Tyler. He's actually somewhat politically ambiguous. I've heard people try to spin it both ways, but he's somewhat politically ambiguous. And I think he did this on purpose so that we don't know how to fight, Because his family is Republican, but he's not necessarily registered Republican. He had some conservative viewpoints, but he also had some anti-fascist, some more leftist viewpoints as well. He dressed in all black, so he's a goth. He gets that category. His shirt had an American flag, so it's all of our fault, right? He was wearing Chuck Taylors, which is kind of 90s gangster a little bit. A little kind of up to wear Chucks on the way to kill. All right, anyways. Okay, messed up. Everybody's kind of like trying to twist the narrative on Tyler. Some people are saying, well, he went to college and he was radicalized by all these leftist professors. Dude, he did one semester during COVID times, okay? So really just blame this on the lockdowns if you want to scapegoat. He did one semester, then he's like, yeah, I'm out. I'm just going to be a full-time shooter or whatever. I don't know. And then some people were like, oh, he's got to be LGBTQ because, Charlie Kirk was against that, so he's probably that. But it turns out, he came from a Republican family, okay? So he's probably gay. I'm just kidding. That was too easy. His dad turned him in. That's how you know it was a white family. That's some white shit. Brown kids, we don't even talk to our parents. We're just like, my parents didn't even know my girlfriend's name for like 3 years, But like, Tyler and his dad were close enough to where Tyler's dad turned him in, and this is what you get when you live with your parents, I guess. You know what I mean? It's, if you live with your parents, they're gonna know you did a shooting. I feel bad for the parents. I really do. I really feel horrible for the parents that they have to like know that their kid did that. But at least they got him out the house, Older parents, you know how that is. It's tough to get these millennials and Gen Z out. Here's where it gets weird. The shooter, Tyler, he engraves words onto the casings. Okay. Kind of hacked Luigi on that one a little bit. Let's be honest. And also, let's be honest. Like, as soon as the picture of Tyler came out, most people's first thoughts were like, not as hot as Luigi. You know what I mean? Like, not as Luigi, hard shoes to follow for like shootings. Like, alleged. It's all alleged. But like, yeah. Like after that, you're just like, yeah, nobody's as hot as Luigi. But Tyler, he wrote some things on the casings. I think some were like anti-fascist. I think there was one that was related to LGBTQ. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then there was one specifically that said, if you're reading this, you are gay, LMAO. Which, this was, and this was, you know, and we know whoever is going to be doing the forensics on this is Utah police. So this was a direct assault on Utah police. Okay? The poor officer who was just like, oh no. Oh no. This is what we learned about in church. And yeah, I mean, if they didn't already know it was Tyler and they're trying to piece together this crime, and you told me like the bullet casing said, if you are reading this, you are gay, LMAO, I'd be like, it could have been any one of my friends, to be honest. It could be literally, I don't know if it's Brad or Chad or Tad, but they love gay jokes. A kid from Tyler's high school said, yeah, I went to school with Tyler, and I'll just say he was a Reddit guy. I feel bad for all the Reddit boys today. This is a loss for all the Redditors, man. Although I can say, you know, if there's one app claiming most of the shootings, it's probably you. Or 4chan. Yeah, right up there with 4chan. But obviously, even with identifying Tyler, this whole thing is still very suspicious. Because immediately when they identified the suspect, the governor of Utah came out and he's like, we got him. Like, already I'm like, okay, that's very suspicious that he's just so confident that they got him. And I don't know if you've seen some of the footage of the event, but there's a lot of suspicious things going on that day. If you saw behind Charlie Kirk, some of his like bodyguards and people were doing some very strange hand signals right before it happened. Yeah, they're like, either they were like really bad ASL interpreters, or they were potentially signaling that something might happen. The other thing that people were talking about was that the scope on the rifle that the shooter allegedly used that they found in the bushes was placed in a very weird way. It would have been quite miraculous for somebody to make that shot. But some people also said, well, the scope can sometimes get messed up when you drop the rifle. Again, this is not something I would know or don't know. Cannot confirm. I don't quite have the scope for this, let's just say, But the other very weird thing was around the time of the shooting, like shortly after, there was a private jet that took off 12 minutes down the road from this college that illegally disabled its radar while in the sky and then came back and landed back in Provo, the station where it was, a couple hours later. Now, they've revealed the flight log since and said, oh, it just went to Arizona, then came back. But why did you disable the radar at just the right time for somebody to potentially do an airdrop? You know what I'm saying? So I trust the government. There were some other suspicious things. Netanyahu tweeted a little too soon. And Netanyahu tweeted at the exact same time as Trump. I don't know if you saw this. They both tweeted at 3:02 p.m. and they both said praying for Charlie Kirk. But Netanyahu tagged Charlie Kirk for some reason. I don't know if he thought he was going to see it. He said praying for @Charlie Kirk. I don't know. His intern needs to be fired. Shortly after, Netanyahu made a long post about Charlie Kirk, which is just like, wow, we didn't know you felt this way. And then he was on a news program recently also, and they're like, hey, there's a lot of people who think that you might have killed Charlie Kirk. We're not saying you did. Like, yeah, you are. Like, did you? And he was like, no, we would never. And that was weird. And then Netanyahu... And then Netanyahu, he went on to basically say, oh, we all know this was probably done by radical Muslims, which is like, never met a Muslim named Tyler, buddy, okay? Oh, it's my boy Tyler from the local masjid. Like, nobody's out there saying, salam, Tyler. So that was super sus. You do have to look into this because... And a lot of this is circulating right now. In his last weeks, Charlie Kirk did confide to one of his best friends that he was afraid that Israel might kill him if he turned on them. Yeah, this has been said on record. Also, there was a few actual live footage interviews with him where he was talking about his frustrations with recently people from Israel turning on him because he was becoming more of a skeptic. Because if you know Charlie Kirk, he was very pro-Israel up until like the last few weeks of his life, when he started to show the very slight seedlings of an awakening, similar to like Candace Owens or or Tucker Carlson, who I love, by the way. I don't care what you say. Tucker Carlson's doing God's work right now, okay? He's reaching a demographic of people that y'all motherfuckers were never going to reach with your platforms. I don't care what he said in the past. I'm in love with Tucker Carlson right now. Do not ruin it for me. When he laughs, I come. I love this man. You could potentially see the seedlings of an awakening in Charlie Kirk in these last few weeks as he started to question Mossad's role in the Epstein files. Okay, now I'm not going to say much more on this because I'm also scared. Okay, so let's just say Epstein, if you didn't know, he was a creepy guy who enjoyed getting massages, if you know what I mean. He was not good to women. He was a misogynist, if you know what I'm saying. Don't kill me for delivering the massage, okay? But Charlie Kirk was demanding the release of the Epstein list, which I don't know if you've been following, but Trump does not want that, okay? He was starting to potentially suggest the role of Mossad with Epstein. He was potentially suggesting that Epstein was intelligence and perhaps working for Mossad. He was questioning whether October 7th was an inside job, as most people who have the facts now can see. And he was at one point expressing his frustration to Megyn Kelly in an interview, saying that people in Israel were now coming after him and that he gets even more criticism than Israelis do because of his former position. And then he confided to his friend that he was afraid that Israel was going to kill him. Okay, that to me is a giant red flag. But would Israel do an assassination? Would they? They're so busy with genocide right now. I don't think they have the time, rest in peace, JFK. I don't think that they would do something like this. But some people are saying they are. Not me. But Charlie Kirk said that he was afraid of Israel. Somebody recently said that Trump even said that he was afraid of Israel. Like he expressed it to somebody because of how strong the AIPAC lobby is in our Congress. He's afraid of Israel. And I'm afraid. Like Charlie Kirk was afraid of Israel. Trump's afraid of Israel. I'm afraid of Israel. The only people not afraid of Israel are Palestinians. Okay? Palestinians are the last frontier of people who are not afraid to stand up to Israel. And so the irony here is that this all somehow does relate to Gaza, because you have what's happening in Gaza, you have the cover-up of the Epstein files, because I don't know if you noticed, but one day before the Charlie Kirk thing happened, we were all on the edge of our seats waiting for the release of the Epstein files. They had just released the creepy-ass birthday book, okay? And we were like, where are the files? Where are the files? Even Charlie was like, where are the files? And then, boom, it's over. And then suddenly we're all about that. And while we were all paying attention to the Charlie Kirk case, the House, I believe the House, or our Congress, voted on a measure to not release the Epstein files. The Republicans voted to not release the Epstein files, all while we were not paying attention. So, I don't know, kind of adds up. I do math. It kind of adds up. These are all just conspiracies. It could have just been Tyler. It's like on one hand you have like, was it Israel and Trump coordinating to cover up the Epstein files and the genocide and everything that's going on in the Israel lobby? Or was it just a white guy named Tyler from Utah who said, you are gay? I don't know. I honestly don't even know anymore. But I will say, I posted a video already with my takes on it, and I pissed off a lot of people. I pissed off people who said, this is so insensitive to be making jokes at this time, these are typically the free speech people too, which is kind of annoying. And then I also pissed off leftists who were like, oh, you're being too moderate, calling Charlie Kirk a human, he was Satan, Nazi. Like, bro, like we can't continue with this divisiveness. The more we preach partisan divisiveness, it's gonna kill us. It's gonna kill us all. It's literally, like, imagine you got shot and your insides are spilling out and you, for the first time, see your intestines. You're like, oh, those are gross. So then you cut them out because they're gross, only to realize you die without your intestines. Just because something seems foreign and something seems ugly to us, or something seems different, or we don't understand it, does not mean that it's not essentially vital to our existence. So what I'm saying is, Don't try to play God, and don't try to be a surgeon. You're not a surgeon. You're not a surgeon. And Charlie Kirk, even though I disagreed with so many things he said, like I said, I respect the craft that he went to schools and he engaged in dialogue with people who disagree with him. I respect that he believed in freedom of speech and he was willing to die for it. And the thing is, I think he manifested the whole thing because he wanted to be a martyr. You could hear in his tone that he wanted to be a martyr for something. He wore a shirt that said freedom on his last days. And yes, he was very pro-Israel for a lot of his life, but let's be honest, if he got killed by Israel, he died like a Palestinian. And I will say, a little bit of irony, if Israel did do this, I'm not saying they did, but if they did do this, they technically did 2 9/11s. Okay. It was 9/10 for you, but it was 9/11 somewhere. And no, I'm not saying they did that. Of course, if Israel wanted to do that, they would have just bombed the whole school. So, don't kill the messenger. I know this stuff's all dark, and I know we're all processing in our own ways, but while we're all alive, let's at least celebrate life. So, enjoy the jokes before they get taken down again. All right. So thank you so much for coming out. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.